Hi, everyone. Let's see.
Hello, everyone. We're back
Hi,
live.
everyone.
Hi, can anyone hear and see us? Yay! Okay, I think we're back.
I think it's working now.
Can everyone hear and see us?
Yay!
Oh, thank the Lord. This is great stuff. Okay, perfect. Oh, awesome. Okay, so we are good and we are live. So we'll take it from the beginning once more. Sorry about that, guys. I think we had technical difficulty. This is just part of live streaming at a conference. This is what happens. So now we're gonna get the show going for day 3, session 1. Take it away, Etienne.
We're going to start again for the people who haven't had the chance to see the presentation so far. So welcome again, everyone, to TMF Week, and thank you for joining us today for our 3rd day. And we're starting off today with our first session, Switching Gears, Why Upgrading Your eTMF Can Lead to Better Outcomes. My name is Etienne Karachi, and I work at the commercialization team here at Montreal. And I'm incredibly excited and honored to be your host today. So I see that everyone can hear us and see us okay. That's great. So we're just going to go over the housekeeping before we start with the session. The sessions will all be recorded and made available to you at the end of the day. So don't worry if you need to grab a cup of coffee and miss a couple of minutes. We'll send you the recordings. Each attendee will receive an attendance certificate for the entire TMF Week conference so that you can show off what you've learned. And please, we want to make this session very interactive. So if you have any question, feel free to ask them in the Q&A section that you can find in the engagement section panel located on the right side of your screen. And we will save a few minutes at the end of the session to go over the questions that have been asked. And after the session, feel free to network and go to the Montreal booth. Now that we've got the rules out of the way, let's introduce our speakers for today, Lindsay Kerwin and Kimberly Swint. Lindsay is a core member of Montreal's eTMF services team and brings strong background and expertise in data management, clinical processes, and TMF management. As for Kimberly, she began her career in healthcare more than 20 years ago as a surgical oncology nurse before changing career paths to clinical research in 2013. She has since worked as a regulatory affairs assistant, a clinical trial associate, and now as a manager of clinical trials documentation at Zydus Therapeutics. In her current role, she's responsible for ensuring that the clinical operations team understand the nuances of document management and how to leverage the available tools and resources to create a culture of inspection readiness. Welcome, Lindsay and Kim. I'll pass the baton over to you and you can share your screen.
Absolutely. Thank you, Etienne, for such a nice introduction. So I'll just start by sharing my screen. Perfect. Thank you so much. So welcome, everyone, and thank you for your patience this morning. Today, we're going to hear from Kim from Zydus. Zydus has been our client now for more than 1 year through their implementation of eTMF Connect. So Kim is going to walk us through some of the challenges that they were facing prior to implementing eTMF Connect. She'll also talk to us about their vendor selection process, how they implemented eTMF Connect, and the results that they have seen now 1 year post-implementation. She'll also share with us some of her lessons learned, and we'll finish up today's session with hearing from Kim about what's next for Zydus. We'll try and leave a few moments at the end for some questions, so please pop them in the chat on the right-hand side. Oh, now I'm having a technical issue. 1 second, guys. There we go. Okay. The issue is on my end. My computer is frozen. Can everybody hear me okay? I can't see anything.
We can still hear you and see you. Yeah.
Okay, I stopped sharing and I'll share again. Give me 1 second. Apologies for this, guys. My computer is frozen. Okay, let's do this. Okay, PowerPoint and task. We'll try again. No, okay. Etienne, I might ask you to share the slides on your end, if that's okay, because my Windows Explorer is deciding that it doesn't want to work this morning. I think it's too early. You didn't have an extra coffee.
Absolutely. The document. Okay, let's see if it works. There you go.
Oh, perfect, Etienne. Thank you so much. Just on to the next slide then, Etienne. Thank you for Kim.
Okay, so thank you, Lindsay, and your Montrium team for inviting me to participate. It's an honor. I'm glad to represent my company, Zydus Therapeutics Incorporated. We are a life sciences company based out of Pennington, New Jersey. That's where our corporate offices are here in the U.S. Etienne, if you'd like to go to the next slide. Thanks. So here at Zydus, our current studies are primarily in the NASH, for NASH studies, PBC. We have phase 2s, phase 1s, and prepare in a couple of phase 2Bs in preparation for phase 3 for our current projects. Our ZTI team, as I noted, have a very can-do spirit, and we are from all over the country, the world. We're global. So we have a large team in India, team members in Dubai, remotely here in the States, and on site here in Pennington, New Jersey. And that's a range from our project management, clinical operations management, our remote CRAs and in-house CRAs. So we're growing. We've gone from 2 team members in 2015, I think, to just about 30 as of today. So that's it for more about Zydus. Etienne, next slide. So our challenges here at Zydus. In 2015, again, we had 2 team members who were embarking on starting U.S. clinical studies that one may have been being managed by a CRO, but the other studies were going to be managed internally. So that meant eventually transitioning from a paper-based system and utilizing an electronic TMF. The initial TMF vendor that we utilized was started around 2016, 2017. By 2018, when more of our team joined, we wanted to gauge what the health of our eTMF was, so meaning what's in our eTMF. And it was quickly apparent that that was going to be an issue. It was very time consuming just to see for the studies and the sites that were in the eTMF, what was the health? What did we have? What were we missing? So we noticed that while trying to resolve how to figure out what was in there, we were starting to duplicate a lot of our tasks. It was taking us a lot of time to figure things out with the system that we were using. So for challenge 2, efficiency and productivity, and that kind of is connected to our challenge 1. We couldn't be efficient if we didn't know what we had, what the status of our eTMF was. Also, we kept coming up with ways of reinventing processes just to make our eTMF work for us. So what that meant was that's more time. We weren't as productive in just our routine tasks for an eTMF that was supposed to make life a lot easier. And, the goal is to be inspection ready. So the studies weren't slowing down. They were actually ramping up. So this was something we felt with our upcoming studies, we needed to maybe look into what other options were out there. And that takes me to challenge 3, transitioning from a reactive relationship with our vendor to a more proactive approach to managing our documents and all of our studies. So we searched for vendors that understood what the eTMF needed to do for us, the sponsor, a sponsor who was managing our studies internally, and a sponsor who had a small team to take on a lot. We weren't resourcing any of our work out to other companies. We wanted to, or our director, our vice president, wanted us to figure out how to do this ourselves and to be efficient with it. So those were the challenges that took us to actually looking to other vendors and for a product that could make grow with us, because we were growing and our needs were growing. Next slide. So our vendor selection process, to figure out how we could improve our document management, when we started speaking to vendors, we wanted to talk to them about validation. Of course, it's not like a catchphrase. It feels like it sometimes, but we needed the vendors that we were vetting to share with us what their validation processes were. Or, if you're a validated system, can you share that with us sooner than later? And then for being more efficient and faster, well, our users need to access these platforms easily. So if you're locked out of a system, you need to be able to reset within minutes, if not 72 hours. And sometimes that would be our experience once we were locked out of the system that we were using. It also needed to work and not buffer as much. So they seem like simple issues, but these were things that were slowing down us from getting work done. It also needed to be cost effective. So cost effective, not necessarily meaning how much the contract was going to be. That does matter. But if you find yourself doing the same tasks over and over again, then you're really impacting you getting things done, and time is money. So if you're doing things twice or 3 times, then it's costing you 3 times as much just to get work done. So it needed to work for us. It needed to be user friendly with powerful features. So obviously user friendly, meaning we were going to have and did have at the time users that had varying experiences with the eTMF. Some had none, and some had very little. So if we were going to pick this vendor, we needed the vendor to understand their product so that the users could actually function in their eTMF. And the powerful features, meaning we were talking to vendors who had very instant name recognition. They were really large. They had a lot of bells and whistles. But if these features were not things that we could actively use to keep our eTMF together, remain inspection ready, then that wouldn't be anything that made sense for us. So the features had to be good, but they also had to be extremely useful. And we vetted a range of platforms, some with very instant name recognition and some that we had come to know through our, different conferences or other platforms. So when we looked into vendors, we really wanted them to know their product. We didn't have time for BD or business development representatives to just kind of gloss over what their product could do. We needed to actually talk about what your platform could do and how would that best benefit us, since we were small. And it was really important, and it was a good experience that when we met with Montrium, that we felt like we were talking to people that had actually worked in most of our roles before, so that a lot of the conversations were very robust and very productive. We also wanted a product that we could test drive. So the sandbox feature was really, really important. We needed to see how it would feel. We understood that that was not going to be the end all be all for what Montrium could do for us, but it was important to get the feel of the Connect system, and that sandbox feature was very important. Okay, next slide. To you.
Can you hear me? Sorry, guys.
Yes.
That's really what we wanted to do, Kim, was to give you and our prospective clients that opportunity to really test drive the system. So how we usually start out in Montrium for that vendor selection process is to do a deep dive call and really understand the needs and the pain points and your current state of affairs with your eTMF. Then during a product demonstration, that's really where our customer experience team, our product specialists get involved to really understand the clients and know their use cases and start building out that relationship from the beginning. And after that, then we move into the sandbox where we give the prospective client an opportunity to test out the system, to really dig in, and that's where our product specialist trains you on your use case and is on hand as well for any questions and troubleshooting that may come up as well. Next slide. So for Zydus, for their sandbox, what it looked like was we gave them access to a sandbox environment, and we did our training. So product specialist was available to train Zydus, gave them detailed instructions on how to test out their use cases, and they also had access to the Connect Help Center. And the Connect Help Center is a place full of how-to articles and that you can access on the go to learn simple things like how to use the system, and also gave Kim and the rest of the Zydus team that opportunity to dig a little bit deeper over what maybe we were teaching them for the sandbox training. During the sandbox, Kim's team felt that they wanted to expand their testing team. There were some other people that were maybe attached to their team that they wanted to jump in and help them out with that testing. So they added some extra users, and with that, we gave them some extra time as well for further testing. And we were in constant contact, with troubleshooting, with questions, and even readjusting and streamlining those use cases and what they wanted to test in the system. So we gave them some extra exercises, and at the very end, we had that feedback session where we were hearing all of their questions and giving them the answers as well. So on to the next slide. Really, we were that product specialist is there throughout the sandbox, but is also there through implementation as well. So we try to have the same person that continues on from the beginning throughout implementation and even post-implementation as well. So the product specialist is really there for implementation guidance. They perform the training to users like Kim, who are super users. And they're also there for technical support. So that they're the first line of technical support. And then we have a full technical support team as well. We also help with validation support and with migrating documents. So we're the PMs, the project managers for any migration projects as well. Then on another side of the team, we also have an account manager, and they're more on the business side, like they're the contact with product development, and they're there for subscription optimization, and they set up quarterly business reviews as well. And they're really just making sure that all the goals and objectives are being met, and they align with the executives as well. Next slide. Next slide, Etienne, please. Thank you. So the product specialists on our team, they're really just an extension of the team to help clients like Zydus get from that scenario of TMF 1.0, just back one. Thank you, Etienne. So we're really there to take you from that current state to the future state. So the current state could be anything like having a paper TMF already, or having a hybrid system, or having the TMFs outsourced to a CRO. Or like in Zydus's case, already having an eTMF system, but looking for trying to implement a new system. So the pain points could be anything from limited TMF knowledge, limited implementation experience, even limited resources. Quite often we're working with very small teams, and they need that extra help and support while they're going through implementation. And sometimes even they're starting from absolute scratch and have no TMF in place at all. Now, the future state could be bringing the TMF in-house and migrating ongoing studies or archive studies, and even that goal, like Kim said at the beginning, being inspection ready. Some clients as well, they're maybe used to using the system or using eTMFs as an archive or a repository, but they want to move towards that more active management, that agile eTMF mentality too. Next slide. So the Montreal implementation roadmap sort of looks like this. We've been doing many implementation projects over the years, and these are the different stages of such a project. We start from the initiate phase, and this is where we plan out the details of the project, the goals and objectives, and the use cases and deliverables. Now, in Zydus's case, we also had a lot of information from the very beginning because we did the sandbox and the demonstrations together. So that helps us then plan for the next phases of the project. During the control phase, then that's when we discuss all the procedural controls, if SOPs or constructions need to be put in place. And Montreal also provides a documentation package as well to support with that. And any questions and answers that come up, Montreal can help with that too. Then we move on to the train phase. Now, this is the most exciting part of the entire project, and I think Kim will say so too, because this is when we do 16 hours of training on eTMF Connect. So a super user like Kim attends all of that training to know all of the ins and outs of the system, right, Kim?
Oh, yeah, yeah. From day one. Yeah.
And then we really take that the trainer approach. So Kim, like Kim, was that super user. So later on after the project had finished for implementation, Kim was the one that would be training the end users on how to use the system. After training, then we moved on to the validation phase, and that's where most clients take a risk-based approach to validation, only testing out certain areas of the system if they like, and they can leverage the testing that has already been done by the vendor. Then we move on to the personalized phase. So this is when we personalize the system, ensure that all of the operational data is in the system before go live. And then we move on to ready to launch, and this is where the client is ready to launch, is ready to roll out to the end users, maybe migrate documents into the system, and then we move into that post implementation phase. So next slide. I'll just Skim very quickly through this one, given the time that we have. So most clients do take a recommended approach to onboarding. This averages between 4 to 8 weeks. Now, in Zydus's case, that took 9 weeks. We'll see that in the next slide. But just to give you an idea of what it looks like, we have it very well set out with different meetings that we can have together, with scheduling the training as well. And then we all have and work to the same goal of a launch date as well. So on to the next slide. And the Zydus implementation timeline looked like this. So we started in March 2021 with our first sessions, meetings together, post that sandbox phase. And we did the training starting in mid-March last year, and then ended that 16 hours of training with the super users like Kim at the end of March. We then personalized the system at the beginning of April, and by the beginning of May, once all of the procedural controls were in place, Zydus then went live with eTMF Connect. So I'd love to hear from you now, Kim. What was your experience throughout that implementation? Next slide.
So with Montrium, setting up the project specialist or project managers involvement during the sandbox phase was really, really important, because the transition from sandbox to onboarding was really smooth. And a lot of what was offered and promised to us during the vetting process, actually, we kept waiting for the moment when they'd say, oh, well, but, and that never happened. So all of the support that is included or discussed, we received. So it made it a lot easier for us to actually feel like the super users that our roles said we were in eTMF and Connect. Our team, we have 4 super users. We attended the 16 hours. They were intensive. We received a lot of information. And at the end, we were all fearful that we'd forget every single thing that we were taught. And that was not necessarily a problem, because we also had the SharePoint that was set up for us that had the videos. So we could easily access the videos that were from our training, where we got to listen to ourselves ask ridiculous questions all over again, but at least refer to it in addition to the Connect support features that Connect provided for us. The plan for kickoff and post going live transition to our one-on-one meetings with our project specialists or account manager, our project specialist, I'm sorry. We do that monthly, and those are very helpful. I don't think I ever needed to cancel one. I think I actually begged for more during the beginning, which Lindsay, who was our project specialist, always was there and accommodated, and that was very much appreciated. It ensured for us that train the trainer approach that they told us, because we thought, okay, we get 16 weeks, everyone's going to get 16 weeks, and that wasn't it. So whoever was being trained as super users, the intent was that they would be able to train others, and the approach actually was effective. Next slide. So our results. So we started utilizing the eTMF actually in July. So that's when we started uploading some of our documents. But the sites had already been entered. We were good to go. And it was a very smooth process. We started off with our 4 super users, 4 end users, and 1 quality person to manage those sites. By December, we had approximately 1,000 approved or final file documents in the eTMF. We had additional super users, and we're doubling, almost doubling our end users. And everyone was very active in the eTMF. We also had our CRO from South America, who we had to onboard, and they actually had very limited experience in an electronic TMF system. So we were able to leverage our training, utilize or refer to a lot of the Connect support videos and articles to provide additional support. The language barrier didn't become an issue at all, and they're successfully utilizing that system. To date, we have approximately two studies that we've successfully entered, and approximately 4,000 final file documents. And the reason why that's really, really a big deal, some people might say, oh, 4,000, that's nothing. Well, we're 4,000. We have one quality person that does the post-approval QCs, because that's our resources right now. But we were able to utilize one of the recommendations, which was the inbound quality review, which is done ahead of our post-approval review. And that's done by our certain trained super users who perform that task. So we kind of do a quality review of our own documents, and it doesn't slow down the process or document approvals by the time it gets to our QA, who does the post-approval QCs. So that's like a real valuable tool, we feel. And we added, of course, like I was saying before, in-house CRAs that are working as CTAs in our system. Our team is remote, so it's they're in India. Our CRO, again, is in South America, and everyone is actually able to use it. It functions, it works for us. Even when we have, there's some issues that we do have to go to support for, but they're resolved. And we're confident that it's only going to get better. Next slide. So our lessons learned. Providing robust feedback to your product specialist is also going to be really important. So don't hold some of the struggles you're having. Communicate with them. They've got an answer that you probably haven't thought of. And obviously, I always felt like it was me. There's others that experience the same thing. So you get to get a lot of good direction with that feedback. Regardless of how good a system is, it's going to take time to get used to it. The language is different. We found that we were utilizing a lot of what we knew from our current our prior and current eTMF vendor, because we do have older studies and still use that. But we needed to get out of that frame of thought and utilizing Connect the way it could help us in the way we had planned for. So, it just took a minute. The articles we referred to a lot. I can't stress how useful the articles are, because they're videos. Some of them are snapshots, things that you're doing. They're relevant to your job and getting your routine work done. And our team learned how to best utilize our help support by something as simple as always remembering to do a snapshot, do a screenshot of what your issue is. So next slide.
I'll just quickly go through this slide because I know we're running out of time here. But just on the Montreal side, post onboarding looks like a lot of things. It looks like IT validation, process and training support. You also have unlimited questions, like Kim has already tested out. You can ask as many questions as you like to the product specialist, to the technical team. And you also have those monthly calls that are set up and quarterly business reviews with the account manager. But overall, you also have access to a help center where you can access all of the how-to articles throughout the onboarding and post-onboarding phases as well. So just onto the last slide.
Okay, so what's next for Zydus? So we're looking to continuously improve upon our processes, the work that we do. We plan for how the study is going to end, so how sites are going to close. So if we begin doing it the right way, we're going to end more efficiently. So, and one of the things that, because our team is doing so much better and doing extremely well, getting a lot of work done in Connect, we're looking forward to learning more about what the tools or the features of Connect that we haven't had any time yet to figure out how to utilize for ourselves. Metrics. I'm looking forward to actually being able to utilize metrics and to provide robust metrics to our management so that we can look towards how this system is going to work for us in our phase 3, how we can better utilize the system for what we're doing currently, because we can always do better. So we're looking forward to that. In addition, we are going to have, again, more studies. We're looking towards a phase 3, hopefully in the very near future. And maybe improving or building on some of the roles that we do have and utilizing some of the users differently, because there's a lot that we can do creatively.
Awesome, Kim.
Yeah.
That's a great plan. So I think this is the last slide that we have for today. I don't know if we have some time for questions, Etienne. What do you think?
Yeah, I think we can take time for one question maybe. I know we've had a question from Rob asking, how did you get your team to spend some time in the sandbox and use the opportunity? I love the idea of them, but have seen from both sides that often people ask for them, then never actually take advantage.
Yeah. Well, I was a part of the sandbox. Actually, our vice president of global clinical operations actually worked in there in practice utilizing it, also because the same thing. We wanted to make sure that this was not a request that wasn't going to be utilized. And as we were using it and communicating with the rest of our operations team, they became very interested in actually, because it sounded like something that was actually more than you just go in and you're looking at things and not actually doing anything in it. So I understand that that query, but we utilized, and we actually asked for more time, and not because we hadn't been utilizing it, because we actually had more that we wanted to practice doing.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay. So I think we're running out of time here. So sorry if we couldn't answer your question, but you can always reach out to us at marketing@montream.com with your questions, and we will answer you. So don't miss out on our next session, which is at 10 a.m., developing an efficient TMF management process with a lean clinical team. So 10 a.m. Eastern time. And thank you again, Kimberly and Kim, for sharing your insights. It was great. And now for our attendees, it's time for networking. So feel free to head over to the lounge or the Montreal booth, chat with your peers, colleagues, or just simply chill, have a good time. And there will be a poll at the end, a survey at the end of the session. So if you have just 2 minutes, please answer the survey. We will greatly appreciate it. Thanks again, everyone, and have a great day. We'll see you next time.
Thanks.
Thank you, everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye.